video is for the map projection lab. 3 projections need to be made, and the first one is a planar projection. I have created a hemisphere out of the top of a 2-liter pop bottle. If this is what you've done, please keep in mind the cut edges of the plastic are pretty sharp. On my hemisphere, I have put a letter A close to where the pole of my hemisphere is, and the letter B close to where the equator of my hemisphere is. I'm going to put this down, and I'm just going to use my cell phone flashlight. When I hold my cell phone flashlight over top of my hemisphere, I notice that the letter A is not distorted at all, but the letter B is very, very distorted. It looks elongated. I'm going to take my marker and I'm going to trace the projection to the best of my ability. It doesn't have to be perfect. Tracing my lines of longitude and my lines of latitude. Tricky to do with one hand, but all I ask is that we do our best. Okay, doesn't look like much, but that happens to be my first projection. This one is the planar. Right here is my pole. Down here is the equator. This is the area of most distortion. And this is the area of least distortion. My first projection is done. The second projection I'm going to do is my cylindrical projection, and when I do this, to make it easy to trace, I want to make sure that my letters are lined up on the spot of the paper where the paper cylinder isn't overlapping. So I'm going to turn on my flashlight again. And do I have it in a place that I can see pretty well? It's tough to see my letter A on there. Now I can barely make out my letter A. Whoa, the letter A is very, very distorted. All right, so there's my letter B, barely distorted at all. Go through, finish rest of my lines. Oops. That'll do for the moment. Gives you the idea. That's all I need for this part. I'm gonna flatten out my cylinder. Turn off my flashlight. All right, this is the equator. Where the letter A is the pole. This is the area of most distortion. The equator is the area of least distortion. And this is my cylindrical projection. Last but not least, I need to make a conic projection. So I have constructed a paper cone, and I'm going to put it on top of my hemisphere. Turn my flashlight back on. As I look at the projection, I can see that the letter A is the least distorted. The letter B is most distorted. So again, I'm going to trace. And of course, you can take a little bit more time. I'm giving you the idea there to make a better tracing. And take that off. Mark my areas of most and least distortion. Flatten it out. So A is my pole. It is the area of least distortion. B is my equator. It is the least, or rather most distortion. And finally, this is my conic projection. And there you have it, your 3 projections with the areas of most and least distortion marked. That's all.